Welcome back to War Thunder and welcome to ships. Yes, I'm early, right? You have probably seen a lot of other videos from a lot of other YouTubers, but I have to excuse that the two tank reviews on the M60A2 and also the Vickers MBT had to be made, as well as the crew guide, so I hope you don't mind. And we are on board the Fletcher. This is the latest destroyer addition to the game, and immediately I want to point out one thing. I think it's a good addition. Friendly tops here hitting me, but no damage. The ship is equipped with 5 127mm guns, and you can immediately see, if you have paid attention to the first few salvos, those were HE, that they have a completely different trajectory to the AP shells. The AP shells fly in a much shallower trajectory and much faster, and therefore are much easier to aim and to more or less reliably hit the target at range. At close distance, the HE shells are as good as the AP shells in terms of trajectory, but in over longer distances they clearly have a deficit in muzzle velocity or trajectory, whatever. So that was the first thing that popped into my mind. The second is you have two launches of torpedoes with 5 torpedoes each. Now you could empty them in salvos or fire them in salvos of 2, or you could do single fire. Now that gives you a good area of a torpedo wall, so to speak, or wall of skill, as every destroyer captain in World of Warships will remember in the early days. Yeah, Fubukis, you know, the tier 9 and tier 10 destroyers back in the days with their long lengths, 20km torpedoes that did insane damage. Yeah, those were the days. Now back to War Thunder. This destroyer is really nimble. When I compare it to the British one, this one really can turn tighter. The acceleration is good for such a large ship, and I think overall the ship is enjoyable. I'm really hoping for certain other destroyers to be implemented now that we see the Fletcher, because the Fletcher is definitely a gunboat. To put that into perspective, we have here, well, basically 5 Jagdtiger guns. So they are in size very similar to the German 128mm that we know from tanks. Speaking of tanks, one-shotting things is really enjoyable. Yes, this patrol boat here had never a chance. However, you might say, well, this scene alone proved that patrol boats are useless against destroyers. Yes and no. First of all, in direct combat they are, but they can lay ambushes in the middle of the map, as you can see here in the mini-map. These ice fields, well, this FOU tried to suicide into me. They are directly the area for the smaller vessels, and they have also spawn points that are much closer, so they actually can also decide the game, as we will see later on in this gameplay. Now, the one thing that was pointed out clearly in this test was that we will probably see 2 different types of maps. We will see big maps, open maps like this one, with also an area for smaller ships. Good hit here on the funnel of an enemy destroyer, where bigger ships will be able to nuke it out or to duel it out. And I actually noticed that I'm very close to the spawn, or relatively close to the spawn. I have a little bit overextended myself. Here I am trying to do a torpedo salvo against those 3 destroyers. I have 10 torpedoes, and the thought here, I have 2 thoughts. First of all, dual purpose torpedoes. So a lot of the ships are overlapping. Even if they change course, they might run into them, or have to trigger them or force them to avoid the torpedoes, and then they might go bow on. And in this iteration of the test, the game mechanics are in the way that when you are bow on and I fire AP shells, the AP shells will go straight through the entirety of the ship and not just, how to say it, yeah, over penetrated, so they penetrate the side of the ship without doing too much damage. They will still hit internal components, and I think that was improved compared to the last test. It's certainly really enjoyable to give broadside to enemy ships and, you know, to duel it out with gunfire and to try to hit those ammo racks that are beneath the turret. So that's a rule of thumb. Aim there. Again, the aim overall is, well, there were two options. You use the default aiming assistance that I do not really like, or you could try to use the alternative aim. And there you could see that hit went straight through a long portion of the ship. That one as well. That does a lot of damage, and that was definitely too much damage for that ship. So if you go bow on, that is very much that's pretty, well, a very bad idea, let's put it that way, if the enemy knows which ammunition to choose. Now, if somebody just uses HE, you could go bow on and all that you could hit is the bow and the gun emplacements in the front. That means you could tank damage, because the rest of the ship, well, doesn't take damage, too much damage. But then you could switch over to APHE. Of course, those big naval guns, they need to use APHE. Why? Because, I guess, to make it short, other ammunition types will not do. You need a big explosion within the ship. It's very unlikely that you hit something like an ammunition rack directly. If so, well, then the ammunition type wouldn't really matter. But the he's actually hammering me with his tail gunner. Oh, sweet. Yeah, I think this is an old habit from World of Warships that I still try to angle, you know, despite explaining it here directly to you. But it's also how you come around the corner that you manage to aim at the enemy with the maximum amount of guns while giving a small target and also altering the speed and changing it, trying to throw off the aim of the enemy. And if he insists on using just that one ammo type, then you could think about, you know, using tactics. However, it's still pre-closed beta test, I mean, for over half a year now. However, you know, I see the direction where the game is going, and sometimes I really wish that armor would play a role. Now, again, it's pre-closed beta, so, you know, a lot of things are subject to change, but this shows the way that bigger ships could have a place. However, I'm afraid when I look at this current map size, you know, what heavy cruisers alone could do, or even, you know, light cruisers with a lot of bigger guns. Talking about ships that I want to see, of course, the German destroyers, the big ones, the Narvik Zerstörer, with their 15 centimeter guns. Yeah, I could really think about this. So this was also the MBT, the American one, and you could see that it has rockets. And I sneaked through the entirety of the central map portion. I was actually ignoring, I was ignoring somebody of the enemy team to just hunt down those cargo ships. Now those cargo ships are slowly moving, so you have to give lead to your torpedoes, and you have 4 of them. And I kind of did mistakes, as we will shortly see. One thing that really, I don't know how to say it, was really a bit of a mystery to me was how hull break works. Now, to this point, I think it's doing a lot of damage to one portion of a ship in a very short time. And there you can see the rockets actually doing a non-penetration. So it seems like the cargo ships have armor. And I launched all 4 torpedoes. And yeah, the torpedo of that one guy actually hit before that, but I got a kill assist, but there were also a lot of non-penetrations on the side of a cargo ship. So that was a very interesting observation. Were those high explosive rockets or armor piercing rockets, whatever, semi-armor piercing? I don't know. But my cannons here, they seem to do a bit of work, but another torpedo is coming in. Yeah, and that's another kill assist. So here I'm aiming for the stern of one of those cargo ships, and I'm launching a salvo, and you can see they get reloaded. So this is obviously the arcade mode, and I have 6 rockets within a single reload. So then I try to redo it, and you know, the small cannons do not really a lot of damage to the cargo ships. Again, you know, that's kind of what I expect. They do damage, but it's not like huge damage. I don't know how to say it. Fired all my rockets on the side. You can see the impact holes, at least some of them. So nice graphical eye candy here. The bow, the underbelly of the ship is also a bit weathered, if that's a correct word. And then I launch again all my, or at least one salvo into the stern, and I get immediately a hull break. So that was kind of new. Then that is a critical hit again on the stern of the ship, but it was not directly the stern, it was half the side, half the stern. So I straighten out directly onto the stern, this time to make sure that I hit it. And a hit. And another hull break with the 3rd salvo. So is this inconsistency? Is this something that I do not really understand? Has the ship taken damage before? That was a nice flyby by the Typhoon. Yeah, I'm not quite sure what to think about it. So this requires, you know, further investigation. Then we can see that we have now 3 damage control parties, so to speak, extinguishing fire, repairing stuff that is broken, and also stop flooding. So I had no rockets available, so I had to dodge the cargo ship. By the way, I get hammered and shot by those cargo ships quite a lot, but I can survive it to a certain degree. And yeah, I then try to turn around to make another pass, thinking to use the rockets again, which now get reloaded again. I have 8 rockets, what it seems like. And yeah, I get focused down, so the enemy now realizes how dangerous I am, and finally I succumb to the defensive fire of the cargo ships. So the cargo ships still do damage, but it's not a one-way ticket like it was. And now we have the Type 140 Jaguar, and when I looked at it, I was not really impressed by it. So previously I tried on this harbor map the dark MGB out, and yes, it's still a troll ship with the 114mm high explosive howitzer, but I was constantly threatened by the German one, and finally I took it out and took it for a spin myself. And this is incredibly fast, incredibly capable in terms of accelerating and coming to a halt. And it has 4 torpedoes and 2 40mm guns with great firing arcs, and they also do a lot of damage. I like this ship, I really do. And when I first looked at it, I said to myself, it doesn't look too much from the stats, but stats are, as I tried to point out in my tank reviews, for example, not always the full story. You have to put it into context. And on this harbor map, that looks insanely awesome, by the way, so great shout out to the War Thunder developers. This is awesome, and you can see destroyers wouldn't have a place here. Another thing that I want to point out is now how the map looks, and here you can see how much damage I do to this ship in a very short amount of time. I aim for the rear of the ship and finally destroy it. So that was also hull break. Now I guess I took out a lot of portions of the ship, and I aimed for the nasty PTF, which didn't convince me, to be honest, because I couldn't make the 81mm mortar work. I knew how to fire it, but I never hit something too often. but when I hit it, it didn't do, you know, the troll damage of the 114mm howitzer. So now I'm just constantly moving around on the battlefield, trying to capture the points for my team, and I hope that in the future this also will bring a lot of capture points when we have the researchable tech tree and then the closed beta. Now, one thing that is really important, and one of the reasons why I show this map, is not just because this seems to be a you know, smaller boats exclusive map, but also have a very close look to the capture zones. I will point it out right now. And those are the spawn points of the enemy ship. For my side, they are outside of the map, so I cannot really spawn camp, and the spawn is protected by some yeah, not really ridge lines, but what you call them. There on the right side it's obviously a small island, but on the left side it's moles, I guess they're called. And yeah, so that means if somebody is not prepared after the spawn, he will not get instantly spawn camped from behind. He has to actually move and can decide whether to engage somebody or not. If they decide then to hide, they, you know, are still being able to, I guess, being taken out by aircraft. But ultimately, you know, it's a good, easy way to stop spawn camping. And the same goes for the enemy team. So our spawn is not available to go in for them. Then they get, well, they can get in to a certain degree, but then they get the message that they have to return to the battlefield, and they just have like 20 seconds or something in the spawn before the ship gets sunk by its own crew, I guess. So like in tanks when you go outside the map. Is this a good thing? Can this be abused? Is this just a small test? We will have to see. But on this map it seems like it's okay, because if you capture all the, you know, capture points, which are in a chain, so to speak, so you have to first capture A, B and then C from one side, and then the points go down. And I think this is also something that will prevent those long times where there is nothing because somebody just hides. Yeah, so that was also a very nice kill on another dark MGB. This is something that always feels good to kill an MGB. Yeah, the salt. Jokes aside, you know, I think the visuals are there, the sound is there, the fun is there. I cannot really complain about this test. I think it was a good test overall. There is still things that can be improved, maybe new ships, maybe, you know, armor that needs a bit more value, so that angling might work, but then it comes to overmatch mechanics, maybe they will be a bit different from tanks. But I guess, you know, tanks and ships will really never play together. I mean, imagine, I don't know, a King Tiger firing at those small ships, and they have no real option to shoot him or to damage him, maybe with some rockets or something like this. So this is open for speculation. Aircraft and those small patrol boats, smaller ships, whatever you call them, they definitely will interact, and we will find out what the best way or the most efficient planes will be. I guess, you know, planes with rockets will still do more damage than planes with cannons, except some very odd ones like the American PB Chase, you know, the mixture of a lot of 50 cals mixtured with that big 75mm gun that's being capable of either delivering APAG or AG shells. Well, we will see how it works out, but then again it will be a huge target, yada yada yada. So at this point the match is decided, and that's it for me today as well. I hope you enjoyed my impressions of the test. Yes, again, you know, it's been a few days. However, I hope you liked this video. Please give it a like if you did, subscribe if you want to see more, let me know your impressions of the test from what you have either seen or what you have played yourself, because this time it was not on the dev server, it was on the live server, and I hope that next weekend we will see another one as well. So yeah, thanks for watching and thanks for listening. I'm out.